The Rambam tells us, Parakim Alachavav, Mishaniso Libo Lakaya Mitzvah Zu, Para'uila, whoever has an uplifted heart, fulfill this mitzvah appropriately, Para'uila, Flios Muchtar B'Keser Shel Torah. Like we said, you want to be crowned. You don't want to learn, but if somebody wants to be crowned with the crown of Torah, each of us on this Zoom, we just don't want to learn Torah. We want to be crowned in Torah, right? We want to have, king in front of our name, so to speak. King of Torah, crowned. Well, Yasiach, so if you want that, well, Yasiach title of Dvar Machirim. You can't focus on other things in life. Doesn't mean that every second we learn. It just means even when we're doing other things, the ultimate focus is Torah in the back of our minds. Below Yasim Alibo Torah ima Osher v'Kavod ke'echad. Don't think you could have multiple goals. I want to learn a lot of Torah and I want to have a lot of money. Those are my two goals in life. One of my children is a little different stages, different fixated on money. You ask Bill Gates, what are the 5 most important things in life? Would he say making money? I don't think so. He gave away 98% of his money to charity, right? If you ask some other guys, maybe. But again, if you do these studies about riches and happiness, they don't go together. Lav dafka. And maybe it's lahefech. Maybe it's lahefech. We need money, obviously, but as a means. As a means. That can't be a goal per se. That's the Rambam. If we want to be mukhtar in the Keser of Torah, don't think that you could have multiple goals. The goal is to become mukhtar in Torah. I might also, to get there, become an accountant and support a family and take vacations and play basketball and do these other things too, which is fine. Again, all with social distancing, obviously. But, whatever I do, it has to be with that one goal of mukhtar. And he quotes the famous Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. This is the way of Torah. Tishan. Eat bread and salt. Tishan and sleep on the floor. And live a life of tsar. But Torah ta'amel and toil in Torah. So look at the context of the Rambam. It's clear that he's not saying you have to do that. He's just saying you have to be ready to do that. Meaning, he says it shouldn't be a goal. But it shouldn't be a goal to be able to acquire Torah, be comfortable. You have to push. And there's different times. If I'm trying, I remember Rabbi Bronspiegel. The year that the Rav was nifter, 1993. So I was in Smicha then. Remember, he was nifter on Chol Hamoed Pesach. So after Pesach, there was like a couple weeks left of YU after Pesach. So they had every night in the Beis Medrash for 25 nights straight. The weekday nights, that a different Rebbe give a hesped or talk about the Rav during the whole Shloshim. Every night. I remember I was there. I recorded like them on like these cassette tapes. Remember what those things are? The 2 circles. But I have them all still. But anyway, they're probably all on YU Torah. Remember, if Schechter gave the first one, 2 hours solid. Rabbi Bronspiegel gave the second one, also like started off with long. Rabbi Parn, every Rebbe gave. And fascinating. I remember a lot of them what they spoke about because it made such a big impression. Anyway, so Rabbi Bronspiegel says, I remember one thing he said. He said, the Rav, besides everything, he taught us a melus in Torah, and you have to work hard. He says, I remember one line, it just stuck out of my head. You can't understand Reb Chaim upside down. What does that mean? He says, if you're lying on your couch on a Friday night, and you go like this, and you have Reb Chaim on top of you, and you're looking at Reb Chaim's on top of you, you're not gonna get Reb Chaim. Reb Chaim can't be upside down. I mean, going to the couch on a Friday night is dangerous, but no matter what you want to learn, not just Reb Chaim. If you really want to learn, you would not go to that couch. Again, it's a mitzvah to go to the couch. That's fine, but first finish the parsha, right? Don't, if you finish the parsha, now it's extra, and, it's going to help you fall asleep by having a sefer in front of you, so then, then Onik Shabbos. But in general, let's say, if I want to relax And that's the Rambam. You have to be ready to moser nefesh, to push it, to not be as comfortable. Okay, it doesn't mean you have to be uncomfortable. You have to be ready. And then he has, but again, it's not your job to finish the job. And that's really what life's about. We're not going to finish, but that doesn't give us a pure from not having started. If you learned a lot of schar, you're going to get schar l'fi tzar. L'fum tzar agor. The Rambam takes 4 different mishnayos in Pirkei Avos, puts them all together. Classic Rambam. Puts them all together from different places. Crown of Torah, and Tasva Melech Tochal, Lo Alechem L'chol Igmar, and L'fum tzar agra. Those are 4 different mishnayos all over Pirkei Avos. The Rambam puts it all together in one halacha, because he's connecting it to Talmud Torah. One more halacha maybe. Let me make my first million first. And then I'm going to retire. And then I'll be able to sit and learn. Let me just buy my investments. I'll come. I will. You'll never get there. It can't be, I'll do it then. It can't be, obviously, we always have to plan. But again, putting together 2 mishnayos, right? Don't say like she'efna and shne, shemalo tifne, and then he has in this mishnah, your Torah has to be keva in your life, the anchor. As he quotes the mishnah in Pirkei Avos. Okay, that's halacha vav and halacha zayin. Let's get back to our sugya. Let's finish this up. Our discussion of Tanai, Masla Machagasa Torah. Yesterday we had 3 ideas relating to the answer to the question, why is the Maisa Kayam and the Tanai is Batal? We had Tosfos and everything that Tosfos entailed, and then we had Rabbeinu Tam and everything Rabbeinu Tam entailed, and then we had the Ramban of Akira's stuff. But now we're moving on to the second part, or a separate sugya, but it's really a separate part, and that is not about a Tanai against mitzvos, but about a Tanai to help you do a mitzvah. A Tanai to help you do a mitzvah. So, we mentioned, there is the Gemara in Psachim on Daf Tes, Al Manasha Yichya B'ni, making a Tanai that, making a deal with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the only mitzvah that you're allowed to do, so to speak. Not Al Tanai, but this type of Tanai. But the Gemara says that you're never allowed to test God. That's an Aveira in the Torah. You can't test God. Now, I'm going to do this, but you better do this. No, with one exception. Gemara said staka. It's based on a pasuk in Navi. You're allowed to test Hashem. You give staka al minas. Right? That's what that's why when somebody gets a mishaberach in shul, you're going to give $100 to the shul, bavor, so people barcham, matana. So Hashem's going to bless them because they're giving the tzedakah. But okay, that's the exception to the rule. But generally, you're not allowed to do that. Testing God. But we mentioned there are more. But I gave you 4 examples of mitzvos al Tanai. Abu Draham, Sfira Omer. Right, you're not sure if it's going to. You're going to remember. The Rashba, you don't remember if you davened. Interesting, those two cases. You're going to do Sfira Omer al Tanai, and you're going to do davening al Tanai. What's the difference between the 2 of them? What's the difference between those 2 cases? Again, it's not a deep question, but just to help categorize. What's the difference just in the cases themselves? They're both about a case of suffix. You don't know. Right? But case number 1, Sfira Omer, it's about the future. You don't know if you're going to remember to count or not. Yeah? Somebody saying something? The Sfira Omer case is about the future. You don't know if you're going to remember. Tefillah is about the past. You don't know if you davened yet or not already or not. So just a little interesting. They're both about a Tanai, but one's about the future. You don't know if you're going to remember. And one of them is you don't remember. Right there. You don't remember what happened in the past. Those are the two cases of the Rishonim. And then we had two cases of the Achronim. Rabbi Rosner and Shulchan Aruch. Rabbi Rosner Shulchan Aruch says the case of, you don't know if the tzibur is going to get this Zman Kriya Shema in time. What do? You say it in the morning. Again, you're not sure. Here, it's a little different. Why? It's not about you. First two cases were about you. Remember, if you're going to remember, you don't remember, you davened. Here is at the future about the tzibur. Again, every case is a little different, even though I'm giving all these examples. The case of the minyan, you don't know if they're going to get there in time. Yonatan, you had your hand up.
Is like a Misha Berach and like tzedakah really the same as like doing a mitzvah at Tanai? Because you usually do the mitzvah before, and like you're like, are you like not yotzei the mitzvah unless like you get a bracha or whatever? Correct.
So it's not really a t'nai. Gemara, that's more of like, it's like a tefillah along with the mitzvah. You did the mitzvah, you gave the sukkah. You're really hoping that Hashem answers your tefillah, right? So that amanasha yichya b'ni, that's not really a t'nai, right? It's more of a tefillah, more of a hope. So Kiveger is about something about the tzibur. What about the fourth case we gave? The Avnei Nezer. Top 5 Avnei Nezers. Tell you in terms of known. Top 5. If anybody knows any Avnei Nezers, this is going to be one of them. Tnai of the Avnei Nezer at the Seder. Right before Chatzos, you don't know what to do. The Avnei Nezer says, make the Tnai, eat a kazayis of matzah, and then don't eat until Chatzos. Then eat again, whatever you want. Eat another kazayis at the end, and then you are good to go. That's what the Avnei Nezer says in Siman Shin Pei Aleph. We read it yesterday. I'll read it again now. In Betchilas Hasuda, this is the sheet that I sent out to you. You see it's getting close. And afterwards, eat afikomen again, and you're yotzei. Oh, just a safer I wanted to get. 1 second. Okay, and you make it tonight. If the halach is like Rabbi Zarya, then that. If the halach is like Rabbi Kiva, then that, and then you eat it, and then you are yotzei. So the question is, first of all, how is this a different type of case than the first cases? Yeah, Avram.
This is a suffix in what the din is about whether we paskin like Rabbi Kiva or Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah.
Right, excellent. This is a different type of suffix. This is something that has nothing to do with you. Suffix in halacha. Right? We don't know who the paskin like is. It's fake Dedina. Right? And therefore, that's the t'nai. But there are many assumptions of the Avnei Nezer. Think about this Avnei Nezer. Like, what is the Avnei Nezer assuming? Right, one of the big assumptions is he's assuming is that the halacha of having the tam matzah in your mouth is totally on the time for the mitzvah of matzah. So, by chatzos, after chatzos, according to the opinion that matzah only till chatzos, you're allowed to eat whatever you want afterwards. That's a chiddush gadol. But it could be that even if the halacha is like Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, only until chatzos, the halacha of having tam matzah beficha is till the morning. That's a chiddush. You could eat more right after chatzos. But that's what he assumes. That's an assumption of his idea. Either way, that is, again, as Avram said, it's a different type of t'nai. I looked up, thank you, the Dov, I looked up the Gemara Menachos in terms of the Karbanos. There are a number of cases You got me thinking about other cases, folks. I thank you for it. For a number of cases in Chazal, where we find Tanai. And we're going to have to come back to these cases. Is a Beferish Mishnah and Erevin. The Mishnah and Erevin tells us, I didn't give this to you to look at, Lamed Vav Amid Beis. Lamed Vav Amid Beis. Erev Tchumen. Erev Tchumen. Right? What's all Erev Tchumen? I want to go 2,000. I want to go 2,000 amos out of my house, out of my city. Unless I make a tchum. What if I know that there's going to be a big rabbi giving a big drasha in the city next door? I just don't know if he's going to the city to the east or to the west. I want to make an Erev Tchumen so I can extend my Erev and go to that city. But I don't know which side he's coming from. Says the Mishnah, to make it tonight, put Erevs on both sides, put some matzah, 1,000, right, 1,000 amos on either side, and then when you find out which side the rabbi came to, you use that one. Says the Mishnah, Masne Adam al Eruvo. A person can make a Tanai on an Erev, the Omer. Oh, there are two cases. One is about the rabbi. That's the second case. What if two great rabbis came? I'll figure it out. I'll decide which one. Or what if there is an attacking army and I'm going to want to run the other way, not towards them? Same thing. So the Mishnah says you can make it tonight. Erev Tchumen. Erev l'chorah is a mitzvah. You make a bracha when you put an Erev. Once in my life, I made an Erev Tchum. Once in my life. But Erev Tchumen is, you make an Erev, you make a bracha when you make an Erev. So you see already in the Mishnah, there's tonight. There are other cases I didn't give you. If you're not sure which Aveira you did, you can bring a carbon al Tanai. If I did this Aveira, it's a Chatas. If I did this Aveira, it's a Shlomim. So there are other cases. We'll get back to it, but just try to think, or keep thinking now, is there something, I'm not going to say it yet. You know what, I'll say it. Is there something that binds all of these cases? Keep that in mind. Is there something that makes all these cases similar in some way? Let's keep that in the back of our heads for a second. Let's get to the question that the Achronim ask on this, and that's what I mentioned to you, I think at the end of Shir yesterday. Let's see the Gemara in Ksubis. I know we've been doing a lot of Ksubis. This is a sugya that's in Boa Basra and in Ksubis. Ksubis Ayin Dalid. Ksubis Ayin Dalid. Hopefully, if you have a Gemara in front of you, crucial Gemara. Ksubis Ayin Dalid Amid Aleph. The Gemara there discusses Chalitza. Chalitza. Are you allowed to do Chalitza with a Tanai? Right? A woman is going to take off the shoe of her brother-in-law, and somebody makes a Tanai. The Chalitza should only work if it rains tomorrow. So it says the Gemara. Says the Gemara. Right in the middle. Amalei bar beirav. Shaper ka'amrit, michdi, with michdi. All Tanai mehecha gamrinan. Any Tanai, where do you learn Tanai from? Tanai b'nei Gad b'nei Ruvain. So what's the rule? This is a rule. Tana'a de'efshar l'kiyum yadei shliach yihasam have tana'a. A Tanai that you could fulfill with a shliach is a Tanai. Says the Gemara, Tanai and Shlichus go together. If you can make a Shliach on something, then you can make a Tanai on it. If you can't make a Shliach, you can't make a Tanai. You can't do Chalitza with a Shliach. You can't send a stand-in to do Chalitza. The Gemara says you can't make a Tanai for Chalitza. Says the Gemara, you know what? Let's not read the next two lines yet. Tosfos. Is there a svara for this principle? Tnai and shlichus. You can make a tnai like marriage. Marriage, you can make you can do shlichus through you can do marriage through a shliach, so you can make a tnai on marriage. Right? You can't do chalitza through a shliach. You can't make a tnai on chalitza. What's the svarf? Is there a svarf for that, or is there a kosef? Yes, Tosfos. Yim Tomar. Uma svara yeshkan. What's the svara? What's the svara? Over there, you could be. Where's the source for tonight? But they got him in a Ruvain. They did that through a shliach, so you can make a tonight only by cases they can do through a shliach. That seems so arbitrary. You know, it happened to be with the land of Israel, so you should say all tonights have to do with the land of Israel. No, don't say that. Don't limit it so far. You know, all tonights happened in the Torah, so you can only make tonights in the Torah. I mean, how England governs self. Why do you have to limit? It happens to be that you can do that through a shliach. But ask Tosfos, why should you limit it? Below Gamrinan Mehasam Elala Indian Mashu Svara. Only logic. Below Yafina Mehasam below Manitay, but it's seen as Karka, or you can say Tanai only helps by land. That was by land, splitting up the Eretz Yisrael. But you don't limit it like that. Make it Tanai by anything. So why should you limit it? Here are the key lines. Yeish Lomar. Hainu Taima. This is the reason why Tnai and Shlichus go together. Tosfos is about to be Mechadesh. Though it sounds like from the Gemara that it's a cause and effect. If you can't make a Shliach, you can't make a Tnai. It sounds like Shliach causes Tnai, says Tosfos, wrong. That's not what's going on here. Tanai and Shlichus are both outgrowths of something else. There's no direct connection between them. There's a parallel to them between Tanai and Shlichus. Hainu Taima, says Tosfos. Since the action, in a case where you can make a shliach. If you can make a shliach, that shows that you are in control. If you are so in control, svarahu, then it's only logical. So it's only logical to say that you could also make a t'nai on this event. Aval chalitza, she'ein biyado l'kamei de shliach. Chalitza, you can't do through a shliach. Lo havi biyado nami l'mirim beit t'nai. You can't make a t'nai. And if you make a t'nai, the ma'aser kaim and the t'nai falls away. What's Tosfos saying? The way the Achronim understand Tosfos is one word. One word. Bilus. Bilus. Are you in control of this action? Are you in control of the chalos? We discussed months ago, if you remember, the Rabbi Chanan, two types of actions, that you create the chalos. Oh, we did it recently too. You create the chalos, or the chalos happens memela once you do the physical act. Shchita, you're not in control. It's the physical act. Says Tosfos, T'nai and Shlichus are both outgrowths of bilus on the act. If you could be a bilim, if you are so in control that you can make a shliach, that's a reflection. That doesn't cause. That's a reflection that you are in control of this halachic area, and therefore you can make it t'nai also. That's Tosfos' svara for the connection between t'nai and shliach. They're both outgrowths of bilus. Both outgrowths of the ability to be in control. That's Tosfos' svara for what the Gemara means. Wonderful, great, amazing. What does this have to do with us? Ask the Achronim. All these examples are making a t'nai on mitzvos. Are you bailim on your mitzvos? You're mitzvah. We have to do mitzvos. You're not bailim. You're bailim on Sfiras HaOmer. You can't make a shliach by Sfiras HaOmer. You can't have somebody else count for you. So how could you make a Tanai on Sfiras HaOmer? The rule is, well, Milsa, the Lesa B'Shlichos, Lesa B'Tanai, they go together. You can make Shliach for Sfiras HaOmer, so why would Tanai work? Or for davening? You can't make a Shliach for davening? That's the question. Why would a Tanai work? Shlichus cannot work. Oh. 3 ideas. 3 ideas. The third one is the one that's going to connect everything we've been talking about. But 3 ideas. Idea number 1. Idea number 1. Let's go back to the Gemara in Ksubis, the 2 lines that we didn't read yet. Somebody mentioned this answer yesterday. Maybe in the tunnel, I don't remember who. But says the Gemara in Ksubis. The Gemara said, right, Shlichus and Tanai always go together. What's the next line of the Gemara? Vahabiyah lo efshar l'kiyumei de shliach ki hatzam v'kav etna kiddushay biyah, which we don't do nowadays. They didn't even do it in the days of the Gemara. Rav, very early Amora on the border. He gave Malchus for anybody who did it. So the Gemara says, Kiddushay B'Yah, you cannot do through a Shliach, and yet you can make a Tanai on Kiddushay B'Yah. The Gemara quotes earlier, you can make a Tanai on Kiddushay B'Yah. So why should you be able to make a Tanai? You can't do Kiddushay B'Yah through a Shliach. Why does a Tanai work? Answers the Gemara, Hasa Mishum Iskish Havayos Lahadadi. A huge topic in Gittin and Kiddushin. We're not doing it. You compare all of the drachim of marriage to each other. Iskish Havayos Lahadadi, meaning since you can make a shliach for some drachim in marriage, so Kiddushin is defined as a event that you can do through a shliach. Kiddushin is a ma'aseh you can do through a shliach because some of the Kiddushin you can do through a shliach. And therefore, that's why you can make a Tanai. Kesef, shtar. I just read the Rashi. That's one Gemara. Again, Kiddushay Biyah, you can't make a shliach. You can still make a Tanai because you compare all of Kiddushin to each other. Or another example. I know we'll get to the first answer. Another example. I had you look at Tosfos and Maseches Nazir. Tosfos and Nazir on Daf Yud Aleph. Anybody have a Nazir there? Yud Aleph Amud Aleph. Once you have a Nazir open, you know what is the most interesting looking daf in Maseches Nazir? Avram, what's the most interesting daf in Maseches Nazir?
Lamed Gimel Amud Beis.
What?
Lamed Gimel Amud Beis.
Lamed Gimel Amud Beis. The only Amud in Shas that has no Gemara. Lamed Gimel Amud Beis. It's all Tosfos. Lamed Gimel Amud Beis. There are a couple. Bava Kama has one with one line of Gemara, but Lamed Gimel Amud Beis is all Tosfos. So you might think the Daf Yomi Shir that day was only 5 minutes long, but not. There's what to talk about, even if there's only Tosfos on the page. I don't remember what actually I talked about, but hopefully I'll remember at some point. Anyway, but says the Tosfos, Nazir, Daf Yud Aleph Amud Aleph. You could become a Nazir al Tanai. If my team wins the Super Bowl, I'm going to become a Nazir. You can say that. Nazirus al Tanai. Asks Tosfos. Yud Aleph Amud Aleph. Ibr Maschal Dahave. Yim Tomar, 4th line of Tosfos. Typically, the Nazirus Yefshel Kayim Aydei Shliach. You can't do Nazirus through a Shliach. I can't accept to be a Nazir and you not drink the wine. So how could you make a Nazirus al Tanai if you can't do Nazirus through a Shliach? Or Bahamadir. Quote Argamar Ksubis Ayin Dalid. Bina Tanai Dumi to make Abnei Ruvain. The Kaima Maisa de Yoshua, Vachulu. Shahaya Shliach Moshe. Asa Mahani Tznol about the Laisa Labalma. Ask Tosfos, how can you make Naziris al Tanai? You can't do Naziris through a Shliach. What's Tosfos' answer? Similar question to Ksubis, right? Like Ksubis, how can you make a Tanai and Kiddushin? Kiddushin, you can't make a Shliach. What was the Gemara's answer in Ksubis? Yeah, but some Kiddushin works, so you can all do it. What does Tosfos say? The Yeish Lomar, Acharei Sha'acherim, Yecholim Lohavi Karbanos Tachtav, Nechshav Kilu Kol Ma'isa Yacholatzos Edei Shliach. What does Tosfos say? Since somebody could bring the karbanos for you to the Beis HaMikdash, that you don't have to do yourself. Since part of Nazirus could be done with a shliach, so you could do any Nazirus al Tanai. Same type of idea from the Gemara Ksubis. Since some of Kiddushin, since some Darkei Kiddushin can be done with a shliach, so all Darkei Kiddushin you can make a Tanai on. Since part of the Nazirus process can be done through a Shliach, so too, all the Nazirus you can make a Tanai on. Where is this leading up to? Somebody tell me the punchline. These are two examples. Yeah, what's the punchline, Avram? Yeah.
Since some mitzvos can be done through a shliach, then we could say that by all mitzvos you can make it tonight.
Beautiful. That is exactly what the Chassam Sofer says. The Chassam Sofer says, based on these two ideas, how can you be not bailam on mitzvahs? The bailam on some mitzvos that you can do through a shliach. Marriage. Let's assume marriage is a mitzvah. You can do marriage through a shliach. You can't eat matzah through a shliach. You can't shake a luba through a shliach. Mitzvah shebegufo you can't do through a shliach. But a lot of mitzvahs you can. Right? Let's say building a sukkah, is that a mitzvah? Writing a sefer Torah, bris milah, I made 5 shlichim. Right, bris milah, I never did myself, and I don't plan on it. And I'm very happy to make a shliach. Right? So you got to know yourself. You got to know yourself. There's a story that they tell over. It's, where is it? I think it's Rav Zevin quotes it. There's this fascinating little book, little sefer, a beautiful sefer. Rav Zevin was one of the greats, as you know. I've quoted him before. He has one sefer called Ishim Meshitos, where he picks on 10 or 15 of the Golim over the past 150 years, from like 1850 till 1950, and he talks about them, and he says a lot of their shitos, the Rogatchover, Reb Chaim, the Nitziv, Rav Issa Zalman. He goes through, a lot of them. So he tells a story there that I think it was the Nitziv. I think it was the Nitziv and the Beis Halevi. I have to get the stories right. I think it was the Nitziv. Yeah, because it was in the Nitziv. The Nitziv, as you know, was Reb Chaim's grandfather. Reb Chaim married the Nitziv's granddaughter. And then he became a Rosh Yeshiva in Volozhin. So I think it was at the bris of Rav Moshe. I think that's what it was. Rav Moshe Soloveitchik, the Rav's father. And they were honored the Nitziv to do the Milah. And the Nitziv was elderly at the time. And as he was Mechabed, so Rav Chaim, the father, saw that he was a little hesitant or unsteady or whatever it was. And then right there, he pushed him away and did the Milah. That's it. And I guess you can push away the Nitziv if you're Rav Chaim. If I'm getting the people correct. Something like that. But anyway, you could do the bris milah through a shliach. So, if you could do some mitzvahs through a shliach, you can make a t'nai on all mitzvahs. Just like the two examples we just gave. If you want to look this up, this is in the Chuvas Chassam Sofer, Orach Chaim, Chelik Beis, Simin Tzadi. I'll try to take a picture of it for you. But he says, Hinei, B'tad mahani t'nai b'kiyam mitzvahs, af al pi she'ef shalakayim adei shliach, hainu mishum, Shem mitzvah ba'alma, miyatzech shalakayim adei shliach. Mitzvahs can be done through a shliach. Avagav bezos ha-mitzvah ba'aksma, iyach shalakayim adei shliach. Ishim Beshitos was the name of the sefer. Ishim Beshitos. So it says the Chassam Sofer, since some mitzvahs could do it, so all mitzvahs you can make a tnai. That's answer number one. That's Chassam Sofer. Let me ask you, is that Chassam Sofer just like the other two examples that we gave? The Gemara Ksuba said it by. What do you mean?
Meaning Rabbi Chanan was talking about bilas, but he's saying even if you don't have bilas over a mitzvah, you can still do it through a Tanai.
So they would say, since you have bilas on certain mitzvos, so therefore you're allowed to make a Tanai even on the mitzvahs that you don't have bilas on.
Right.
That's what he would. That's how he would formulate it. But let me ask you this: is the Chassam Sofer exactly the same? The examples. What are the examples? All Darkei Kiddushin can be looked at as one. What was the Tosfos? All parts of a Nazir can be looked at as one. You can understand that. It's all marriage. It's all Naziris. What did the Chassam Sofer just do? All mitzvos? That's a huge jump. Rav Asher Weiss, in one of his farm quotes, he says, how can he do that? You want to say all three drachim of marriage, influence each other, fine. You want to say all parts of Nazir are connected, fine. You want to say all mitzvahs are connected? All 248 mitzvahs are say? That's a huge chiddush. How can you jump like that? How can you say that? Again, that's his suggestion. That's his suggestion. That is all approach number one of the Chassam Sofer. Avram.
According to the Chassam Sofer, why can't you make a shliach by a chalitza then?
They would still say there are still rules, even if you're not bailim. They agree. The Chassam Sofer would agree. Let's say that you're not a bailim on chalitza, but let me ask you this. Meaning, why can't you make it tonight? Meaning, when do you know which mitzvahs you can make a tonight and which ones you can't? That's a question. That's a good question. Meaning what he says, since you can make a shliach by some mitzvahs, you can make it tonight by all mitzvahs. You can't make it tonight by chalitza. You can't make it tonight by some. Yeah, I don't know how to think about that. I'm not sure. But that's his answer by certain mitzvahs that you can make a tonight on. Okay, number one. Number two.
Rabbi.
Yeah.
Do you know where Rabbi Chanan said the two kinds of actions that you can do?
Simin Ayin Vav and Kovetz Haaretz. Kovetz Haaretz, Simin Ayin Vav. I'll double check that, but I think it's Simin Ayin Vav. Yeah, Ayin Vav. Good. A second idea, and that's what I gave you from the Chuvas Oneg Yantif. Oneg Yantif, one of the great achronim of the 1800s, has a different shot. The Tanai and Chalitza, the Tanai and Shlichus, different focus than what Tosfos says. Different focus than what Tosfos says. And you have to read it a few times to catch it and to get it. But again, if you didn't get to read it, but you'll read it after we talk about it. Says the Oneg Yantif. Again, he lived 1816, 1879. Rav Rafal Yantif Halpern. The connection between Shlichus and Tnai is different than what Tosfos says. And again, this Oneg Yantif, Achronim use, Rav Asher Weiss uses to give an answer to our question about mitzvahs. Says the Oneg Yantif. If you can't do something through a shliach, if you have to do it yourself, that shows that the key element is the Maisa itself. You have to do this action. You need to do it. It's all about that act. That's what it means if you can't do it through a shliach. It means it's all about the physical action. You need kavana for the action. That's all you need. Tnai, you can't attach a tnai to kavana on a maisa. Kavana just means you have kavana to do the physical act. You can't make a t'nai on that. It's just a physical act that's being done that accomplishes whatever. If you can't make a shliach that reflects and shows that the ikr of what's going on here is the physical act, and that's it. If you could do an act through a shliach, you know what that shows, says the Oneg Yantif? It means that there's two ingredients to what's going on here. The physical action and your rutzon. Because how else is his act connected to you? It must be you're happy about it. It's not just kavana for the physical action. That's what the other guy is doing. If I make a shliach, he has kavana for the physical act. I have rutzon that I'm happy with what's going on. And that's how it connects to me. You could attach a t'nai to my rutzon. You can't attach a t'nai to my kavana. That's the Oneg Yantif. Again, it's not about bailus per se, but he says, if you have to do it yourself, I'll read you some part of it in the middle. If you have to do it yourself, even shapul and iksheres b'bailov kolkach, then you can't make a t'nai on that. It's just the physical act. You can give it over to a shliach that shows that it's not the physical act, but it's with the rutzon of the person. You can make a t'nai when there is rutzon involved, not where there's only purely kavana involved. That's the yesod of the Oneg Yantif. Says Rav Asher Weiss, by mitzvos, even if you can't do it with a shliach, there's definitely an element of rutzon. Besides kavana for the maisa. After all, what if I have kavana shelo latzes? What if I pick up a lulav and I have kavana? I am not doing the mitzvah. I'm not doing the mitzvah. I'm not yotim my mitzvah. If you have kavana shelo latzes, many say that prevents the mitzvah. I think I sent you the picture of the Minchas Asher on Bamidbar. He brings rayas, and mitzvos for sure have an element of ratzon, even if it's not al yedei shliach. L'chara mavu, he said, "Pashut." The Gezer says, "Shall have a kavana." You know that's a ma'isa mitzvah. Al sheinu yotei chavatzo bal karcha. You can't be forced. Yotzei mitzvah. You can't be forced to have ratzon. Ratzon has to do with you. You decide. So that's why you can make a t'nai on mitzvos. Because mitzvos have a ratzon element too. Why could you usually not make a t'nai? Because the fact that you can't do it through a shliach means that it's all only about the physical act. And all it is about the kavanah for that act. But no ratzon is involved. You can do it through a shliach that shows it's his act and my ratzon. So you can make a t'nai. Mitzvos, even if you can't do it through a shliach, it has a ratzon element. And that's why you'd be able to do it through a t'nai.
Rabbi, why is that different from Tosfos, though?
Because, according to Tosfos, the focus is bilus. But I think you still have the problem. You're not bilim as much on mitzvot. You're not a bilim. You're saying because you have to have the rutzon. You're saying the rutzon is like bilus. The fact that you have to have your by mitzvot, if you don't have the rutzon, you're not yot to the mitzvah. Tosfos' focus is on bilus, so you're not a bilim on a mitzvah. You can have anti-rutzon. He doesn't use those words. He's giving a different svara. It's about kavana and ratzon. That's his key. They might be connected again to what Tosfos said.
But can't he just be explaining the lashon of Tosfos where he says "Ma'aseh kol kach biyado" means ratzon, not necessarily bilos?
Maybe it's fine. I don't think I have to read the other part of the tshuva. He's not saying his shot in Tosfos. Look at it. He quotes Tosfos and he's saying his own idea. His point is Kavana versus Rut. Kavana, which is a reflection that it's only focused on the physical act, while Ratzon is about physical act plus the Ratzon Abayla.
But he uses the same lashon of kolkach biyado to say Ratzon.
But kolkach biyado, usually, Tosfos is saying kolkach biyado that you can make a shliach. I don't think the Oneg Yantav is using it that way. It's that if you can make a shliach, that shows that it's not about the physical action that you are doing. It's about the physical act plus your connection and happiness that it's occurring. That's not exactly bilos. A little different type of definition. Okay. Why did you just put your masks on? Everything okay?
There's been a breach in the capsules.
Really? Wow. Okay. But I won't tell anybody. Okay, it's recorded now. Okay. But anyway, let's finish up. I think there's a third idea that you could suggest. Maybe there's a third idea. Again, why is it? How can you make Tanai on a? You can make a Tanai on a mitzvah. You got to buy them on the mitzvah. So we had the Chassam Sofer. We had Rav Asher Weiss based on the Oneg Yantif. Let's get back to all those cases. What do all those cases have in common? Pirsa Omer, Tefillah, even Erevin. All those cases, you're not making an arbitrary T'nai. You're trying to do a mitzvah. You're just not sure about something. You're not sure if you davened. You're not sure if you're going to get there in time. You're not sure where the rabbi's coming from. But they're not choices that you're making. Like, I'm going to make a T'nai, Almanas, that it rains. Almanas, you give me money. That's not what's going on in all these conditions. In all these conditions, you're trying to do a mitzvah. You're trying to do the right thing. I don't know if you daven yet, so you make a T'nai in davening. You don't really have a choice. Maybe, just like we spent 3 days, you're not allowed to make a T'nai against what it says in the Torah. Maybe the flip side is also true. You can make a T'nai to try to fulfill what it says in the Torah. And it's built into the system. You can't make a T'nai to go against what it says in the Torah, but you can make a T'nai if that's the only way you could fulfill what it says in the Torah. In the situation that you're in. Right? You don't know. You're besuffic. You want to be Yotzei davening. The only way you can do that is with a T'nai. Sfiras HaOmer. Kriya Shema. Afikomen. So maybe it's the exact flip side of what we have been talking about. Again, it's not discussed so much in the Gemara. Maybe that could answer the question of the Achronim. Of course you can use a T'nai. A T'nai is in the Torah. Hashem wants you to use a T'nai to fulfill. What, you're not a Bailam on mitzvahs? Hashem's the Bailam on mitzvahs. And he tells you, use the T'nai to fulfill the mitzvah. Yeah, Naftali.
Are there any actual rayas for that, or is just like an idea?
I mean, what are the rayas? The fact that all these T'naim are there. They all work. Right? So they all work. So how do they work? And again, nobody seems to be bothered by it. Nobody seems to be bothered that you would be able to make a T'nai in all these cases. Again, I think it's two parts. Part one is that in all these cases, you're not choosing to make an arbitrary T'nai. You're forced into the situation because of circumstance. You have a choice. You don't know if you davened. You don't know if they're going to miss Man Kriya Shema. It's not like you're choosing, I'm going to make it T'nai. You don't have a choice. A, and B, you're trying to fulfill a mitzvah. You're trying to do what the Torah says. Put those two things together. You don't have a choice, and it's fulfilling a mitzvah. So maybe it's exactly the flip side of masne al mashakasav b'Torah tano batel, masne with what the Torah says, and tano kaya, and you can fulfill the mitzvah that way. Because ain't brera. Again, if you want to do a mitzvah al manas an arbitrary tnai, maybe that shouldn't work. Sfira Salomer. But or tefillah, you can't make an arbitrary t'nai on davening. It's only here where you don't know if you davened or not, and that's why it will be able to work. But either way, this would hopefully fill out the picture with the two parts of t'nai against what it says in the Torah, with what it says in the Torah, and that takes us through this sugya.